Hey everyone, welcome to Ian and Friends. I'm FloBikes Senior Editor Ian Dille.
And I am Michael Sheehan, Ian's friend. Today we are going to preview the new UAE Tour. It is of course going to be live and on demand on FloBikes starting next week.
Now, World Tour stage racing made its debut in the Middle East last year with the Abu Dhabi Tour. This year, the Dubai Tour and the Abu Dhabi Tour have combined to form the UAE Tour. And this has become a really legit World Tour stage race. It's got big summit finishes, it's got dynamic sprint stages on exciting city circuits, and it's got some cool classic stages where you don't really know what's going to happen. Michael, what are you looking forward to in this 7-day race?
Honestly, I am pretty blown away by the amount of sprint talent that is going to be out in the United Arab Emirates for this race. Pretty much every single big name sprinter that you can think of is going to be taking a crack at a World Tour stage victory. This is going to be a really exciting one. What about you?
The GC battle is going to be exciting for me. I think this is going to set the stage for who's going to be on form for the early season and eventually the Grand Tours. There are going to be 3 stages overall for the GC riders, a team time trial and 2 summit finishes, 3 stages for the sprinters, and 1 stage that could go to a sprinter, a classics rider, even a GC contender. Let's get into these stages. You want to run down the sprint stages we have?
Yeah, so like Ian said, this isn't a straightforward Middle East race like you may have gotten used to seeing the last 5 years or so. Lots of diversity in the stages. We're in the mountains. It's not just going to be windswept desert riding. That being said, there are going to be a few really fast sprint stages. First and foremost, stage 2 after the opening team time trial, that is going to be 180 kilometers in Abu Dhabi. Stage 5 is going to be the sprinter's next opportunity, and this is a stage that I really want to highlight because it could go a couple different ways. If I was looking at the road book, I would actually be really interested in stage 5 as a breakaway because the first half of the stage is all uphill, finishes with an intermediate KOM before you take a dive down to the eastern coast, and this is an opportunity for really some crosswinds to play a major role in the last 50 kilometers. So stage 5 on paper, it looks like it should be a sprint stage, but this is one of those question marks where all the riders are going to have to be on their toes. The final opportunity for the sprinters is going to come on stage 7. This is the closing stage of the tour. It is a pretty straightforward, flat and fast 145 kilometer dash into Dubai City Walk.
Yeah, so for the GC riders, both stages 3 and stage 6 are summit finishes. These are super flat stages for about 100 miles, but they finish on these gnarly, twisty climbs up into the Al Hajar Mountains. Stage 3 finishes on the summit of Jebel Hafit. It is 9.7 kilometers at a 7.7% average gradient. And then stage 6 is actually a much longer climb to Jebel Jaiz. It is 15.5 kilometers long, only a gradient of 5.5%. So it's going to be an interesting race where there could be some drafting, some team tactics at play on this climb. And then, of course, the team time trial is really going to set the stage for the GC battle. It is stage 1, pancake flat, 16-kilometer team time trial. Who are you looking at for the GC riders that are really going to make a dent in this team time trial?
It's an interesting one. So first, we're seeing some transfers of time trialing talent for the 2019 season, and a big one is Tony Martin. He is now on the new Jumbo-Visma team, and him combined with Primoz Roglic at the UAE Tour, I think that this is going to be a really pretty stellar squad, and it's going to add a lot of depth to Jumbo-Visma's GC hopes for the 2019 season.
Yeah, the other GC rider that is really benefiting from a transfer is Vincenzo Nibali. Rohan Dennis has come over to Bahrain Merida and is going to add a ton of horsepower to that team time trial team, and will really elevate Nibali a lot against his rivals like Chris Froome, Tom Dumoulin, and that's the other racer, Tom Dumoulin, who's really bringing an all-star squad to this team time trial. He's sharing the leadership at this race with Wilco Kelderman, and of course our American friend Chad Haga is on the start list for Sunweb as well.
Yeah, I would have to say that conditions look really, really good for Team Sunweb to take the lead after the first day. They do typically have the best team time trial roster on paper, and this race is going to be no exception.
Yeah, other GC riders to watch, Sky's Mikhail Kwiatkowski and Gianni Moscon will be sharing leadership. Chris Froome said he actually overdid it a little bit at the Tour of Colombia, so he's going to be taking a rest instead of attending at the UAE Tour as planned. And also Richie Porte, with his new team, Trek Segafredo, it'll be interesting to see if he's coming on to form at the UAE Tour. Let's get into the all-star roster of sprinters that we have at this race.
Yeah, all right, hold on. This is going to be a big list, actually. So first and foremost, we have to say Elia Viviani. He is coming in already on great form this season. We saw him in Australia kicking things off with a couple victories. Viviani, he's going to be the big favorite, but he has a lot of competition lined up for him. I'm just going to go down the list. Alexander Kristoff, he is going to be pretty hungry on the UAE team. We have Sam Bennett, who already has a stage win at Tour of San Juan. Caleb Ewan, he is going to be hungry after 2 second places and a relegation where he started off his season in Australia. Fernando Gaviria, he got sick in Tour of Colombia, but he is bouncing back and definitely no slouch. Jakub Mareczko, this is an interesting sprinter. I have seen firsthand how quick he is because he just cleaned up Asian races for the last few years. He's a tiny rider, not the strongest by any means, but he is an absolute bottle rocket when you point him in the right direction at the finish. So he is for the CCC team and going to be targeting a first World Tour victory here. Then a couple interesting sprinters, Marcel Kittel and Mark Cavendish. Of course, these are two of the biggest marquee sprinters in the game. They are both coming off of not very great 2018 seasons. This is an opportunity for both of them to kind of set 2019 off on the right foot. Mark Cavendish's last victory, if you could believe it, was actually at Abu Dhabi a year ago in 2018. So I think that Cavendish especially is going to have a bit of pressure on him. He wants to just completely forget about his 2018 season marred by crashes and sickness and, yeah, come into the UAE swinging.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is going to be the Viviani Gaviria show. I think Viviani has proven that he is ready to take the mantle at Deceuninck Quick-Step as the sole sprinter and the best sprinter in the world. He'll probably be making his debut at the Tour de France this year as well, and this is a chance for him to prove that he can be a world-class field of sprinters. Of course, Gaviria really announced himself last year as one of the top sprinting talents in the world. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to see if some of these younger sprinters, Ewan, Mareczko, can get in there as well. There's going to be some serious battles coming into these sprints. Who's your pick for the overall crown?
Ooh, I think that Patrick Bevan is going to be a bit of a dark horse.
Nice.
After I say this, the climbing is probably going to be a little bit too stout for him, but I felt so bad for the guy after he crashed in the lead at the Tour Down Under, and yeah, I hope that he's gotten himself right, and we're going to see a bit of a show and redemption from him at UAE. What about you?
I'm going to go with Wilco Kelderman of Sunweb. He's, they say that he's sharing leadership with Tom Dumoulin. Tom Dumoulin, he will be on form coming into this race, but I think he's maybe taking a little bit slower start to the season, and this is an opportunity for Kelderman to nab a World Tour stage win. So that, based on the strength that they're bringing into the team time trial, it could be his race.
Well, only one way to find out. Please do tune into FloBikes. We will have the race live and on demand on our site and on our app.